A truck's popularity is largely determined by three things: how well it satisfies wants and needs, brand loyalty, and if it can convince proud 03 Tacoma owners to trade in their—
You gotta be kidding me, brother, for this?
While the new Tundra is competitive, there are a few things preventing it from stardom. And the powertrain options could be one thing that reduces its appeal. Not for the reason that you may think. Each truck comes centered around a 3.4-liter twin-turbocharged V6 and a responsive 10-speed automatic. This gives any Tundra plenty of motivation. However, the big three Americans also offer lesser engines, even though the base Tundra isn't a whole lot more expensive than some of them. The Americans provide heavy-duty models too, something that Toyota does not bother competing in, and I really can't blame them. Going up against US manufacturers when it comes to trucks is like trying to talk louder than a frat bro or attempting to out-pizza the Hut. So I'm just happy that Toyota's in the game to begin with, and they're not just present, they offer a wide variety of configurations, including a contractor-friendly 8-foot bed, and most other grades will let you choose between a 5.5 or 6.5 foot bed. You won't find a regular cab or a 3-passenger farmer love seat anymore, but the Tundra does offer a crew cab or an even bigger crew cab. There's also an uncomfortable amount of different packages that tweak the styling of various trims of the Tundra. You can get this with everything from 18-inch steel wheels to 22-inch chrome-looking alloys. And while I won't talk too much about the style, for a full-size truck, I do think the Tundra has some sharp angles, especially around the rear. I like the available large DRLs, but like some of its competitors, I do wish the Tundra was designed with a little less fetch their souls and a little bit more restraint, but all of the marketing departments will tell you this is what people want, so let me know what you guys think. I am happy that this excessive venting is actually functional outside of that for the Hybrid Max. And I also like how you get LED fog lights on just the SR5 and they resemble little light bars. And features for this thing are overall impressive. You would expect them to be with how much they're charging these days. But once you get past some of the sticker shock and realize that this is on par with the segment, you can appreciate the standard LED projector headlights along with the proximity unlock and lock, though maybe offering a utility package without some of these conveniences would be nice. The Tundra is better at work than prancing through tollways and fashion malls. The durable composite bed is standard, so you don't need to buy a liner. There's a multitude of different tie-down points, especially with the deck rail system that you'll find on most. There's a convenient driver's side bump switch that drops the tailgate on the limited and up, and a bed step can be accessorized too. I think my only mild disappointment back here is that you have just a 400-watt outlet available, even on the Hybrid, which you can get a 1500-watt inverter with the Sienna. One of my favorite details comes with the available 360 view camera to help me check mid-drive on any precious goods I may have in the bed. From a mid-tier perspective, the cabin of the Tundra is exactly what I want from a truck. At well over $70,000, I'm less enthusiastic. So this does get quite a few things right. One being storage. You have a massive center console, a multitude of door cubbies with cup holders throughout, a large wireless charger that actually works, and it's also a physical yet not overwhelming interior. So some brands like Chevy, for instance, will give you analog buttons and dials for everything, but they are everywhere in absurd numbers. This keeps it simple. The toggle switches, the buttons, they're fairly satisfying. It also skips out on the gimmicks and opts for a plastic feeling but traditional shift lever, and the tech is easy to understand too. You can either get a helpful multifunction display or a fully digital gauge cluster. The infotainment has a stripped down user interface, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is standard, the resolution and response time are respectable, but it is kind of funny. Standard, you'll have an 8-inch display, but you can get a 14-inch one that has the font size of your grandma's iPhone, but that does make it somewhat easy to use while you're in motion. I think Toyota Toyota also offers a nice variety of features. You can get things like a full heated steering wheel, heated and ventilated seats not just up front, but in the back too, a head-up display, dual zone automatic climate control, a panoramic sunroof, and a 12-speaker JBL sound system with good punch and clarity. Or you can get none of that. Toyota offers a nauseating amount of packages. I would recommend going up to the SR5 to get lumbar adjustment, but the seats themselves are best described as agreeable. At 6'3", I have enough thigh support.
Platinum buyers gain a long thigh extension to help with that.
I think a wide variety of people would fit here. The cushioning is soft enough, but it also isn't contoured much for the human body, which is fine for a trim like the SR5, but if you're spending platinum 1794 capstone edition money, other brands do high-end comfort and cabins better. This applies to the build quality too.
As you start spending more, the abundance of plastic materials becomes more disappointing. Some of the panel fitment looks questionable.
The door handles don't feel high quality. I mean, the construction of everything is good, and at least they do add some soft touch materials higher up in the door panel, ambient lighting for these upscale grades, but once you start looking closer, you realize its opulence is limited. At least size isn't. I have no problem sitting up front, and I can sit behind myself too, with legroom and headroom to spare even with the panoramic roof.
My only knock is that the high floor doesn't make for stellar thigh support.
I also like the standard power rear window. On the big Crew Max, it'll roll down the whole glass and add rear console vents. Storage under the seats is a convenient touch, but you'll miss that if you go with the iForce Max, as that is designated as the battery layer. The turbocharged V6 may not have legendary status just yet, but it seems to be a worthy successor to the old V8 so far. Even in the detuned SR grade, it still makes over 400 pound-feet of torque. Most of them are going to come with 389 ponies and 479 pound-feet of twist there at low RPM. That kind of power band, paired with a well-geared 10-speed automatic, makes this feel effortless at basically any speed. And it helps this tow a substantial amount of weight in any configuration. A lot of other trucks, you have to spec a special final drive ratio or engine or tow package. This is out of the box ready, even if its peak tow rating is shy of what you can get with the Ford F-150. Now the one I have is the hybrid, which adds another 100 pound-feet of peak torque. But earlier I was driving the non-hybrid, and that is also an eager, well-tuned truck. The transmission of the Tundra is smooth, and it does a good job of selecting the right gear the first time, even if it's not the quickest shifting unit out there. No burnouts. No burnouts.
Zero to 60 in 6.1 seconds puts the hybrid 1/10 ahead of the lighter SR5 I drove last year.
And I also did a 20 to 50 mile per hour test, and there too, it knocked off a couple tenths. What you can expect from the iForce Max is a sharper response. And while I will explain further in my powertrain comparison video, the Hybrid Max still relies on boost. So if you're towing or highway cruising and you don't want to use as much of the turbos, you're really not going to find much of a difference here. And that's why gas mileage is virtually unchanged. You'll get a couple miles per gallon better in the city, but that's about it.
It's also worthy to note that I struggled to hit the EPA ratings.
Unless you absolutely desire that extra tenth of response and passing power, I'd skip the hybrid. Up at 65 miles per hour, it's a pretty quiet truck outside of the wind noise coming from the mirrors. After driving them back to back, you can tell the difference between the models without the acoustic windshield. The capstone actually adds acoustic glass up front as well, but either way, the Tundra should be a well-mannered highway companion. Like all of its competitors, Toyota offers off-road packages. Each trim will be available with a part-time four-wheel drive system, though there's nothing automatic like some of its competitors offer. Add a TRD off-road package to your truck, like what I have here, and you will get a rear locking differential,
increased underbody protection,
an off-road tuned suspension, which basically softens the ride a little over your smaller to medium-sized impacts, along with crawl control and MTS, which will basically use the brakes to help shuffle torque to the wheels that have most traction, or even help dig you out of some hairy situations. It's definitely not a gimmick, though some people would appreciate a front locker, something that this does not offer, even if you jump up to the TRD Pro.
It's also missing factory front tow hooks, and for 2024, Toyota offers a 3-inch lift kit on grades like the Limited, stealing some of the TRD Pro's shine. Its biggest advantages are the interior and exterior flare and the suspension, with 2.5-inch internal bypass Fox shocks, paired with TRD front control arms.
All of which should make a big difference when you're going off-road. Is it going to be worth over $70,000? That's for you to decide. Over a disturbing Indiana back road, most vehicles that I drive are more comfortable than the Tundra. This is just pretty jittery.
And the TRD Sport package on the SR5 makes that even worse.
But overall, this feels like a lot of trucks did 10, 15 years ago. Is it appalling? No, at least not in the TRD off-road version. You can get rear air suspension or adaptive variable suspension, the latter of which I haven't really found to help out on roads like this, but having air suspension is nice to level it out during towing. All of the trucks can absorb a giant pothole without really crashing into the cabin, but you will feel every little motion. And it's the ride quality that soils the luxury truck proposition presented by Toyota. Around corners, the Tundra is, it's exactly what I would expect from a truck. Nothing more, nothing less. The steering is slow, but reassuring. While it is numb, I have a basic idea of what the front wheels are doing. It feels a little bit more accurate than the previous generation did, but competitors like the Ram are both more comfortable, and I think they handle a little better. This obviously has body roll and is going to feel a little clumsy. The TRD Sport will firm things up a little bit, but honestly the hit and ride quality makes it something I would really think twice about. I also think the weight of the steering is pretty inoffensive, whether you're in sport, normal, or eco. Throwing it around torn up corners, the coil sprung suspension actually handles these pretty well. It could be more poised, but it's not hopping around or making me lose confidence. While the Tundra has large windows, the windshield is skinny, the hood is big, so seeing out of it is about as intimidating as it looks, especially if you get a long wheelbase model, which has a laughable turning circle that will have you solving complex equations in your head every time you park.
But being approachable on the road isn't the biggest concern for vehicles that tow a space shuttle for marketing. As you might predict, this giant box of steel is quite safe unless you're a pedestrian. It also comes with most active driving aids in Toyota's arsenal, including adaptive cruise, lane centering, and auto high beams, but blind spot monitoring is an optional extra.
The thing that has distinguished the Tundra from its competitors for years now is its reputation for reliability. Initially, when this generation dropped, this was catching a lot of flack because there was a bad batch of turbo wastegates. This actually uses an electronic actuator, and those were failing for whatever reason, and it's an extremely expensive fix, especially because they're not the easiest to access.
Thankfully, that was addressed and never widespread. For 2022, people were also voicing concerns over an intermittently laggy throttle. Miscellaneous qualms with the brakes can be found on carcomplaints.com and NHTSA reports too. In 23, some interior and exterior quality control woes persisted, as did infotainment complaints according to Consumer Reports, but powertrain issues aren't prevalent.
While it's too early for me to predict the reliability of the new Tundra, none of its competitors exactly reached Corolla status. So if you need a full-size truck and you prioritize longevity, I would definitely keep the Tundra on your list. Recommending a truck is different than recommending basically any other vehicle, because for some people still, a truck is a tool. And for that purpose, I think this is a great one.
If you just want something new that will tow heavy things or haul plywood, a Tundra will do that with a smile. Off-road credentials, a reputation for reliability, a well-thought-out cabin, and a versatile bed. I think this truck will carve out fans who appreciate all of those things, but in the current market, this only allows the Tundra to keep its head above the water. Its American foes have a broader appeal with a wider variety of powertrains, generally improved ride quality, and, if you care, nicer materials on high trims. Much of that is puzzling to me. How do you dedicate not 1, 2, 3, but 4 whole trims to luxury, something Tundras aren't even known for, and then make just an adequately upscale cabin and a ride that's more disturbed by imperfections than a beauty magazine editor? The Tundra is a solid truck choice, and it's the full-sizer I'd personally buy for the aforementioned reasons. However, I think they could have made a bigger splash against the competition if they invested more into the platform or interior, and not a superfluous hybrid or surface-deep luxury. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then leave a thumbs up to help me sneak into the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe and hit the notification bell for more fun, detailed car content without fluff. Consider becoming a channel member for an additional podcast and to improve video quality. I'll catch you in the next one.